morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Saturday to all of my fellow transparent homeschooling friends. I am Christy Ghaffari. I am so happy to be here with you to share with you my personal experience with the curriculum choices that I have made throughout the years. Let me just preface this by saying thank you, Carla, for the idea to do this, Carla Givens. That it's a fantastic idea. We can all just share our opinions and ask questions about our curriculum. And I think that we should do this in all of the groups. I don't know about you guys, but I'm in a lot of Facebook groups that are homeschool related. So this is just a really great idea that I'm probably going to encourage in all the other groups that I'm a part of because it's fantastic. So let me just give you a quick intro about my experience. I have 3 children. And we knew from the beginning that we wanted to homeschool when I was pregnant with the first. Peyton is my oldest and she is 11. So she will be starting 6th grade this coming fall. And then I have a 9-year-old son, Grant, and he will be starting 4th grade this coming fall. And then my baby, Cora, is 6. And she is the perfect example of the homeschool kid that kind of does just kind of whatever works for her because she's young. So technically she's only in kindergarten and she'd be starting 1st grade next year, but she's doing all 1st grade work this year. So I'm putting her into the 2nd grade program and I'm just going to adapt it if it gets a little difficult for her next year. But so far she's really keeping up with the 1st grade level. So I'm just like letting her go with it. You know, that's the beauty of homeschooling. So hi everybody coming on. Amber and Lindy. Hi. Vanessa, Lindsay. Good to see you, everybody. Don't hesitate to ask questions because I will scroll through this as we go. So first of all, if you noticed in my introduction in the actual video page, I put some helpful advice in there for how to choose your curriculum. I find that a lot of newbies especially are like, I don't even know where to get started. Well, what's really important is to know your child's learning style and your teaching style. Those are the first 2 things that I learned. Hey, Carla, good to see you, darling. Those are the first 2 things that I discovered and learned when I first started homeschooling. So it's been, Peyton will be starting 6th grade, and we started homeschooling her when she was probably 4, so pre-K up through 6. So I got going on, 7 years of experience here. And let me just do a quick shout out to the amazing annual Teaching Them Diligently conference that happens every year in Nashville, Tennessee. I have been going since Peyton was 3 and she's 11. So I go every single year and I absolutely love it. I glean so much from that conference. Not only about curriculum, that's like a small portion, but really it's about encouraging me as the homeschooling parent. And my husband, he goes when he can. It's just very encouraging for parents and homeschoolers and leaders and ministry workers. I highly recommend it. If you can get to one of those conferences, you will not be disappointed. So back to what I was saying about choosing your curriculum. I made some notes here. You want to consider your child's learning style because that does matter. The challenge with that is if you have more than one child and 2 of them learn one way and 1 of them learns the other way, what are you going to do? I'll deal with that in a minute. I'll get back to that. The thing is that you can adapt things for each child and it's okay. That's why we homeschool. I have a feeling I'm going to keep saying that a lot. So also you want to consider your teaching style. Hey, Jackie, I see you. Good to see you, girl. I miss you. Consider how you want to teach your children, how it works well and flows well for you, because that has a huge component into the peace and the flow of your day. Wouldn't you agree? It's very important. So you don't want to be teaching one style if you just don't get it and you can't implement it. So you've got to do what works for you as the teacher, as the parent. Also consider your priorities as a family. Consider your child's interests. You can choose to go a certain way for each child. Like for instance, my daughter loves horses. I can let her use equestrian as science, or even the history of it. It's really cool to let kids search and learn what they're interested in. Again, that's a benefit of homeschooling. Also, you want to consider the grade level requirements. Now, For those of you who've been around a while, you'll probably agree with me that it's very important that you let the little kids be little. You let them play. You let them enjoy their time because they're only little for a while. So through grades like pre-K all the way up to, I would say, 6th grade, that is a very flexible time for children, and you want to let them play, do hands-on stuff when they can. 7th grade and up is when things need to get a little more serious, diligent as you, the mom or the parent, planning what your child needs for requirements in the future. I have some wonderful friends that have gone before me that have high schoolers now, and they have told me this, so I am reiterating to you what they've said to me. Once 7th grade hits, that's when you need to really start thinking about, like their hours for high school and all that they need to get in for the graduation. But the beginning years need to be relaxed and flexible. One of the best books that I read when I was beginning my homeschool journey was called The 3 R's, Reading, Writing, and Arithmetic. And it was all about letting your kids just roll that up into what they do every day. And it really helped me relax and just so you know, I'm a type A, red personality, so it's kind of hard for me to relax. But for the most part, I try to let my kids kind of roll with it as they go. Okay. The other thing is to consider your time. Realistically, how much time do you have in your life, in your day, to put toward homeschooling? And your curriculum has to match that. Also, your budget, that's very important. Not just your curriculum that you're spending the money on, but also any tutorials or co-ops that you're going to be a part of, and also enrichment activities such as, art and classes and ballet and all that wonderful stuff that you want your kids to have exposure to as well. And then ultimately, I'm going to wrap this up in a tight little bow that says KathyDuffyReviews.com. Love her website. I have been using that as my resource to go and read and learn about all of the curricula out there. You guys, that is the best resource. Read it. If you want to know about a specific curricula, it's in there. She's been around a long time. I highly recommend KathyDuffyReviews.com. All right. I don't know how much time I have, but it's been like 7 minutes, so I'm going to keep talking. So let me just start off by saying I have done about several different things, okay? And I always come back to my Father's world. I will say my Father's world does not come to the conference, Teaching Them Diligently, anymore. They haven't been since probably, 5 years now. They haven't been coming. And I've asked about why they don't come and set their stuff up. And basically they said because we don't have the resources and the people available to make it happen. And it's not the premise of what we do. We want to be here for our families. And but they have such an amazing service, customer-oriented service that you call, they answer. They're amazing. So that is a good thing about them. But thankfully, I got in on one of the conferences that they came to, and I was able to physically pick up the books and feel them, which is really, really important. So if any of you guys that are local to me want to feel my books and look at them, let me know. I'm happy to meet up with you over coffee, or you can come over and let the kids play or whatever. So My Father's World is a combination of the 3 classical, Charlotte Mason, and traditional learning teaching styles. So you can get kind of the best of all those worlds. And you know why that works well for us? Because I have 2 kids that learn one way and another child that's very hands-on kinesthetic that learns a different way. So this kind of helps me get all 3 of my kids into learning together. And that's why I keep coming back to My Father's World, because we can do it together, most of it. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't have time to spend 2 to 3 hours with each child every single day. It doesn't take us 6 hours to do school every single day. It does not. But if I were to do individual curricula for each child, it would take that long. So My Father's World is amazing because it combines Bible, geography and history, literature, science, and music appreciation and art. So you get all of that in your teacher's manual that you implement into their lessons every single week throughout the year. And then you add on the age level for each child, a language arts program, a math program, and they do recommend a foreign language. So you do have to do those individually. Obviously, my 6th graders doing fractions and my 1st graders learning, subtraction. So obviously we can't do those together. So the way that I structure my day is based upon, I do all of my stuff together as a group. We do Bible together and history together. And then usually we'll split off and do math separately, and they'll do language arts separately. And then I have to go in between and help them with what they need help with. And then we'll usually come back together and do the literature and the reading together, usually after lunch, and any hands-on fun stuff at that point. Okay, so My Father's World has it all laid out for you. I'm just going to show you real quick what I have. I have done kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade in that order. Yes, but not really, because I skipped around, but I always came back to it, like I was saying, because I've had kids in all 3 different levels. So am I talking too fast? Let me know, guys. I can slow down. I know you guys are busy and you don't want to waste your time, so I'm trying to make this worth your time. So let me know if I need to slow down. So what's amazing about the manual, this is another reason why I love it. All of the things I choose are open and go. I don't want to prep. If I can help it, the only thing I have to prep sometimes is like materials for week 11 in this 1st grade is you need raisins and fish-shaped crackers. Okay, so like, who doesn't have that, right? We're parents. Everybody has that. This is our 1st grade curriculum. I just opened up week 11. And the way that, this is probably going to be backwards, so I don't think it's going to help you guys to see it, but this is the grid for the week. Hey, Carla. Okay, good. I'm doing good. Okay. Thank you, Carla. This is the grid, and the way this works is they basically, I'll just read it to you. This is the Bible for the week. This is reading and language arts for the week. And then down here's math, and down here is your activity. And then also right here is going to be music and arts. So basically you're going to, I do have a planner I use all the time, a homeschooling planner. And you basically just throw into your grid for the week each child's lesson that they need. Does that make sense? So you all do Bible together for My Father's World, and then you can all do math at the same time. So 6th grade level does her math, 3rd grade level does his math, okay? And if that stresses you out, I can often swap them out. Like if my little one's doing math and needs me 100%, I want my middle-aged child to do something he can do without me, so I'll let him do maybe his language arts or something while I'm helping the other child. And then we'll come back together and we'll do our book basket, which is literature, reading, maybe over lunch while we eat. And then, of course, that means I don't get to eat because I'm usually reading, so that's kind of not cool. Sometimes I'm like, I want to eat, but I usually just eat before or after. And then we can do science together, so we're still together. And that's why My Father's World works really well for us, because you can literally, it's like the one-room schoolhouse. You can sit down at your table and do it all together. And then little by little, they can spread out and do, their language arts and math on their own. And then history is together, and there's usually one music and one art thing for the week that you do. And there are certain days, like Tuesday is music and then Thursday would be art or whatever. They don't overwhelm you with all the extracurricular stuff. And the way that My Father's World is set up through, let's see, this is the 3rd grade level. They always keep it a 4-day work week, which is amazing because that gives you that flex day. It could be any day of the week. They have it for Friday, but to go and do your, tutorial or whatever. So I really love that about the way they have it all structured for me. I just open and I go. So let me talk about, does anybody have any questions just about that? Yeah, audiobooks. Jackie, that's a good point. That's a really good point. The thing is, I will say, when we have reading time for literature, I often make my 6th grader read to us because she's a great reader. And I also will, when my babies were little, like even preschool, I could have the older kid read to the baby or the younger child, and that would keep them entertained while I helped the middle child do his math or something else. Hey, Lindsay, I would love to see how you do your planner for all 3 kids. I live by my planner, but I'm curious about how other moms do theirs. Okay. Yeah, I'll tell you, I set it up real neat, nicely, and then often it just falls by the wayside. I don't keep it updated. I usually do like the first 8 weeks of school, and then I come back and I like check off if I get it done, and then later if I don't get it done, I'm like, whoops, and then I just move it to the next week or whatever. Honestly, I haven't been doing much of a planner this new semester since we came back from Christmas because I have a flow going. And here's I should have brought my checklist. Okay, so I have a checklist for each child that I laminated. And it literally says Bible, reading, math, science, history, whatever. And it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And so each child keeps a check of what they've done for that day. And that really helps me not really need a planner. The reason why I don't need a planner is because it's all listed in here. You can even write in here, like for math this week, Peyton did lesson 16, blah, blah, blah. Like you can use this as your planner. That's why I love My Father's World. You really don't need another planner. If you can kind of set it up that way in the beginning, it's really easy to, I'm just reading your messages, okay? So, planners are good though. I mean, we need planners for our life. I also have a calendar on the wall that tells me what we're doing throughout the month. And then they keep their checklist. And that's about it. Now, I will tell you that I don't usually grade anything. I just look over it as they do it. And we keep binders of all of their fun little folders projects that they do. Because they do have fun little things to do in these. I will say that language arts and math are separate, so they have their own filing system that I use for that. I want to make sure I'm getting everything about My Father's World before I move on. So, like I said, they do Bible, they do geography, history, literature, and science, and I love how they all intertwine. It is a chronological order of events. They start with the Bible, and they wrap the history into that, and they wrap the science into that, and it is so amazing. It is so fascinating. And if you're wanting to teach your children the biblical worldview, that is why I keep coming back to My Father's World. And they have a lot of literature books available that you can buy. It's called the complete package, depending on which level you're using. And you can buy a basic package and go get all your books at the library. So there is a cheaper version, and then there's the comprehensive version. And I'm just going to be honest. Look, if I was paying for all 3 of my children to go to a private school, it's going to cost at least $10,000 to $15,000 a year, right? Depending on where it's at. Well, this is a private school, and if I have to buy the entire curriculum plus all the books, it's like $400 for the entire year, you guys. That is cheap. And it's worth it. And you have this stuff forever. And you can share it with your friends. Like, in fact, I have a friend right now who's borrowing my kindergarten curriculum, and then I'm using her first grade curriculum. So we just swap, and then we trade back and forth. Carla, would you recommend using only 1 or 2 subjects? Yes. Would that work with the curriculum since it's all intertwined? I have done that this year, to be honest with you, because my children are in a tutorial that is heavy in science, and it's heavy, and they have their own math and their own language, and they have some geography. So for this year, I'm using the first grade curriculum for Cora, my baby, and we're all doing the Bible together because we needed Bible. And then I'm letting my big kids kind of do their own separate curriculum. But I'm still using this for some crafts and some Bible, just for all 3 of them. Does that answer your question? So if you needed a science curriculum and you already have, see, this is so cool. You collect stuff, right? So over the years, if I go back and I realize, last year we didn't do all the science. I bet I could pull the science out of my 3rd grade and redo it. And it's all right here for you. So I think you could do that, Carla. I absolutely think you could do that. It's really neat, though, to see how it synergistically works together. Speaking of, they also have something called a synergy group, and that is something that I have participated in, and it's basically like your own little tiny co-op or your own little tutorial that 1 or 2 or 3 families does together. And you can meet weekly or you can meet bi-monthly. It's totally up to what you want to do. I did this in 2nd and 3rd grade for my 2 older kids, and we would meet once a week on Thursdays, and everybody was doing the same curriculum, and we would just open it up as a group and complete usually a science project together. One mom would lead, and then the other mom would lead about the prayer or the Bible. It was really fun, and it created community. So the synergy groups are really important, and you get a guide for that as well. When my kids get older now, they're in tutorials, and I don't need the synergy group, but it was really wonderful to have when they were very little. Jackie, how often does My Father's World come out with editions? Can you still get old editions? I don't think they come out that often with new ones. This one from U.S. History was updated. It was copyrighted 2005. This was the 2nd grade curriculum. And then it updated 2013. So 8 years later. I haven't had any problems with editions, but I haven't really, that hasn't applied to me. This is the Exploring Countries and Cultures. This is 3rd grade and up, and it's 2002 copyright, and then they redid it in 2009, so it was 7 years later. And this is 2020, so they might be ready for an update soon. That's a good question, Jackie. Okay, so there is something that I need to say about the way the cycles work. They have something called the family learning cycle. This pertains particularly to, okay, I don't know if anybody's familiar with classical education, but they have the beginning memory pegs for the first, like, I'm drawing a blank. K, I didn't make notes on this. Somebody help me out. K through basically all of elementary. And then from like 5th or 6th grade up to about 7th grade, they have the dialectic stage, which is where they're dialoguing and understanding all of the things that they have been memorizing and learning from the first phase. And then from high school and up, they have the rhetoric stage, and that's where they learn how to retell it with convincing understanding of the material. So it's 3 phases of learning. So that classical model is one of the methods that My Father's World uses. They also use a traditional model and the Charlotte Mason model, which is all about literature. So what's cool about the family learning cycle is that they are cycling through this information. So for instance, 3rd grade through 8th grade can cycle, like my 3rd grader can start here, and then the next year she'll start the next level, and then my 2nd grader comes alongside and does it with her. And then she goes to the next level, and then the baby comes along and they do it, and then they go to the next level. Well, then the baby is just now starting back on here. So we get to cycle back through it, and it's new to the baby, but then the oldest child comes back 3 years later and says, oh, I remember this when I was in 3rd grade. But they have it written out at a level for 7th and 8th graders. So now that she's older, there's more in-depth study for her. Isn't that cool? So you're still doing it as a family, and you don't have to rebuy this, but the baby gets it, the middle child gets it, and the older child comes back around. And they usually repeat one of these before they go into the high school level. So I hope that makes sense. Let me know if it doesn't. So the way they have it segmented is preschool through 2nd grade, and those are, that's just what it's so basic, the elementary beginning levels. And then they have 3rd grade through 8th grade, which is where the family cycle begins. And I am right in it, right in my family cycle. And then by 9th grade, you move on to the higher level, which is more independent learning as the high schooler. But then she or he, the high schooler, comes back every Friday and meets with the parent to oversee all of the work they've done for the week. So they become more independent, obviously, as they age. They do say, Okay, so y'all ask me more questions if you think of them. As far as language arts goes, different video. I'm so used to doing my essential oil videos. My Father's World does suggest you do a separate language arts, and they do provide language arts programs to use. This is one of them for the 4th grade, and this is for the 2nd grade. This is called Language Lessons for Today. If you wanted to not go anywhere else, you wanted to use everything My Father's World suggested, that would be that. However, I ordered those, but I didn't really end up using them because I preferred something else. I used All About Reading and All About Spelling for my little kids, and then I used IEW, Institute for English Writing, and the Fix-It grammar books for my 4th and 5th graders, and then I use Life Pack Language Alpha Omega. So that can be a separate video, but those are the things that I liked, and the reason why I liked Alpha Omega the best is because it's all done for me. It's comprehensive. You open it and you go, and then you check their work and you move on, and it's everything language arts that you would need. That's grammar, writing, reading. What am I forgetting? Anyway, you get my point. I don't have to piecemeal it together. So that's why I like Alpha Omega. And that's just that language arts subject. So then they have math. So MathUSee, I'm not going to talk anymore about language arts unless you guys ask questions. MathUSee is the program that I have chosen because it works really well. And again, it's open to go. And once I buy the book, I can reuse the videos and the teacher's manuals for the next kid coming in. So it's very convenient. I have all of my books here that we've used up until this point. This is Primer, this is Alpha, and then we have Beta, Gamma, Delta, and Epsilon. So if you wanted to do it by grade, technically they don't do MathUSee by grade. They don't want it to be by grade. It's just by level. Lindsay, what grade does Alpha Omega start with? Kindergarten. My daughter Cora did it last year. She did kindergarten language arts, and she loved it. She loved it. It was a workbook like this. It was so easy for her too. I mean, she sailed through it. So MathUSee, Primer is kind of like your kindergarten level. Alpha would be first, Beta would be second, Gamma would be third, Delta would be fourth, Epsilon would be fifth, if you wanted to do it that way. However, and my kids have kind of fallen along with that. Primer was super easy for all of my kids because they learned it all in pre-K. In fact, Grant completed the Primer book in 2 weeks after we started school in August as a kindergartner. So he just jumped right into Alpha, but Alpha took him a little bit longer to get through. What's really neat about MathUSee is they all come with a teacher's manual, which is thin and easy and helpful, but they also come with the videos that Mr. Demi is the author of these books, MathUSee, and he gives you like a 5-minute lesson of the new material for the week or whatever you're starting. So you can watch it. The child watches him so that, you know, depending on your child, that works well because sometimes they don't want to hear what I have to say, but they'll listen to somebody else. I mean, right? So they'll watch that. And then if you have any problems, you can turn it off and help them. The thing is that when it gets to the higher levels, I have to watch Mr. Demi because some of it doesn't come back super quickly to me. But as soon as I watch him, I'm like, oh, yeah, I get it. And then I can help my child. You know, Peyton's doing fractions and long division and all that stuff. So that's really helpful. And so far, I have not had any problems with math. My kids just soar through it and they love it. And what's cool is that you can just buy the book. So, you know, the next year's book, you just buy your workbook. You don't have to buy all the other stuff because you already own it. Every workbook that you buy, a new set, is $44. That might seem like a lot, but this is for the entire year. This will last you the entire year. And it comes with a little tiny skinny workbook with tests and like the final exam. Honestly, I don't give my kids tests. I use it as to reiterate what they've learned. Like, let's just do an extra worksheet is what I tell them. But then at the end of the year, I give them the final exam. So it's a mastery-based approach. MathUSee is, they don't move on until they get it. And Dr. Demi says that. He says, don't move on to this lesson until you know your child has understood this last lesson. But then when they come around, they review it. It's so interesting. They have so it's set up as 7 days. All right? Is that right? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. 7 days. So the first 3 days, lessons A, B, and C are new material. A, B, C. And then D, E, and F are review with the new material and from the past material. And then G is usually an enrichment sheet, which is fun, like coloring and connecting the dots and that sort of thing, which they can do in like a split second most of the time. They're fun. So, potentially you could get through an entire lesson in 2 days if your child is just like loving it, because the worksheets aren't big. In fact, I've heard, will you open the beta book and let me see various pages inside? Okay. Beta is about second grade, first, second grade. I was about to tell you that each worksheet is only 10 to 20 problems for one worksheet. Let me go to the beginning. This is okay, so 4. This is lesson 4. It's going to be all backwards, Lindsay. So this goes down to number 8, and this is double-digit addition down here at the bottom. Okay. And then that's one worksheet. There's always 2 pages, and then here's the back. See, the back is just 1 or 2 questions. That's 10 questions for lesson 4, one worksheet. And if the child is loving it, then you just let them keep going. Sometimes my kids will do all 3 worksheets when it's new material. And if it's hard, then they can slow down. Now, see, here's lesson 15. Can you guys see it? I don't know if you can read backwards. Good luck with that. I would take my computer down my camera and flip it around, but it would be hard to get it back in there. So this is perimeter, finding perimeter. And this goes to number 15. So that's your that's one worksheet from lesson A of the new material. So you get 3 worksheets, and then you get review after that. So we would usually, on average, get through 1 lesson for the entire week, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then the next week, we would start the next lesson, typically, if we're doing school 4 days a week or so. 4 to 5 days a week, depends on the day. Okay, Lindsay, let me know what else if you need to see something. They do have online assessments available to decide where your child needs to begin in MathUSee. I did that with all of my kids, and everyone but Peyton started at primer because that was kindergarten. Peyton started in 1st grade, so I started her at alpha. They have the approach, it's like a 3, this kind of gets kinesthetic learners and auditory and visual learners. That's why MathUSee works really well for all types of people. They have the manipulatives, which is all of the blocks that build. I should have brought them. They're in my schoolroom. But they're building blocks. I know you guys have seen those manipulatives before. And we bought 1 package with my starter set, and I've never bought more. We all use them. Even Peyton uses them for when she was doing fractions and some other stuff. And then you can write everything out in the workbooks. So, that's your physical, and your building is your manipulative kinesthetic learner. And then you can say it and talk about it, so you auditorily are learning it as well with the child. And and he even says, build the problem, and then in the book it says say it 263, and then write it. So they are working all 3 of those components. Now, your kid, who doesn't need to necessarily say it, then don't make them say it. And the child who doesn't need to build it, don't make them build it. That's the beauty of it, right? You can do what works best for their child. And, okay, so those were pretty much everything I had written down. Those are my notes for these curricula. MathUSee, My Father's World, and they do also, in My Father's World, they suggest that you have your separate language arts, your separate math, and your foreign language. I tried to do foreign language with a 3rd grader. Peyton is my firstborn, so she's like that type A kid who excels in pretty much everything she does. But then my middle child came around 3rd grade, and I made him do Latin, and he hated it. He hated it. So I didn't make him do it. But Peyton just did it without him. And we did Prima Latina, and she completed the first Prima Latina book in like a semester and a few weeks. It was crazy how fast she did that. Of course, it was a younger level for her. She probably could have, moved on to the next level, which is Latina Christiana, which is the next level. So I'll probably have her do that in the fall, and she'll be starting 6th grade. Hi, Carrie. Good to see you. And that is the only foreign language that we've done is Latin. And the reason why we've done Latin is because, and I don't want to waste your time, guys. If you need to hang up, you can. But we did classical conversations when my kids were kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade. And it was so fun. And we really drilled our math facts. I would say that's the biggest takeaway from classical conversations that my children and I have received, and that was our math facts, because we sang those songs, and my kids know their math facts, man. They're singing them all the time. And even little Cora, I play the math facts song for her from classical conversations that I bought, and that's how she's learning it, because it works really well for my kids, and it really helps with math when they can memorize those. And then the other thing that I was going to say is the Latin was introduced to us at a young age, and I love the concept of doing Latin. Through classical conversations, we started Latin, and I just would love to use that as a beginning starting point. Kind of like learning piano before you learn all the other instruments. That's kind of the way I feel about Latin. Looks like Carla likes it too. Memoria Press. Isn't that, Prima Latina. All right, so I think, Carla, you are going to do a video on Memoria Press next in a couple of days, and I look forward to hearing your feedback on the language arts program for them, because I haven't looked much into them. But I'm pretty set in my ways, I'm going to say. I like what I've been doing. It works really well for my family. And then once my oldest daughter becomes in 7th grade and up, I'll probably reassess and do things a little bit differently, like I said, because that's when things start to get a little more challenging and really important. Let me just encourage you guys one more way. If you're in Tennessee watching this, I can only speak for my country, my state. They're pretty relaxed about Tennessee law when it comes to homeschooling. They say you're supposed to homeschool 4 hours a day, but I don't have anybody checking in on me that I know of. And we fill up our time with so many other things. It's not just about worksheets and workbooks and doing this stuff, it's about what they do hands-on and how they involve their lives in so many other facets, such as church activities and music classes and the tutorials and the co-ops and all those wonderful things that they do. That is learning, and you will fulfill your 4 hours a day, no problem. So don't let that stress you out. I'm a part of a tutorial, and they do give grades for my tutorial. Hang on, I'm going to fix my camera. They give grades, but it's also kind of like they are just arbitrary. They don't mean anything because I'm still the teacher. They have a tutor in their tutorial, but I'm still the teacher. And I still give the final say on their grades. So if they turn in, my kids are in a tutorial at New Life Academy in Mount Juliet, and they love it. And if they turn in a test for science or they write a paper for IEW and they get graded by the teacher, it's helpful. It's feedback. And then I bring it and I read it and I talk to my kids about it. And so it's very beneficial to have the grade and the feedback. But it's in the cloud, if you will. They're not turning this in to anything or anyone, at least not my tutorial. And I'm pretty sure none of them are, because they're umbrella schools and they don't have to turn these things in. Now, if you have a program that handles all of your grading system for the year, you are inputting those grades. So that's where it comes down. And you can use your tutorials grade for science if you want, or you can give them your own grade because you're the teacher. So that's just a little side note, tidbit, doesn't really have to do with curriculum, but I think in Tennessee anyway, you can relax, you can chill out a little bit and not be so worried about, the powers that be. But if anybody is out of Tennessee and you have another experience than that, feel free to share, because that's very important to know and to be aware of, because we need to appreciate the freedoms that we have to homeschool and fight for them, because from what I've heard and read, it ain't getting any easier. So I am done. So if you all want to send this out to your friends that are interested in MathUSee or My Father's World, please do that. And if you have any questions that you want to ask me personally, like Lindsay did, if you want me to send you some screenshots of these books, I will do that for you, no problem. You guys remember, you can always go online and see samples of everything. You can see samples for, My Father's World's website is mfwbooks.com. I will put that in my notes. mfwbooks.com, and then MathUSee, just search it up. MathUSee, the letter U, and then C, S-E-E. And they're really easy to find, and you can look up and you can take those placement exams for math, and that's it. So I'm signing off. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Carla, everybody who came on, Jackie, Carrie. If you guys want to see more, I also have my opinions on All About Reading, and love that program. We used it levels 1 through 4. I'm looking up in my schoolroom right now. It's behind my camera here, all of my books. And I've used language arts, and I've used some of the IEW Institute for Excellence in Writing. So I have some opinions on those as well. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. Have a great Saturday. Happy Saturday. It's gorgeous here, sunny. And my aunt has an 80th birthday party that I'm going to this afternoon. So that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. All right, everybody. Talk to you soon. Bye.